Okay, has everybody got a copy of their agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to Steve. Second to Kenny. I'm having to do notes too. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries 3-0. Donna said she'd be here in a few minutes. Did everybody get a copy of their minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion to amend some of the minutes. There's a little incorrect information on the context of actually what's on our agenda tonight, so I wanted to amend it so that actually what we're talking about is.
All right, talk slow. Right.
Okay. Usually have old Chris over here banging it out. Is that when it comes to administrative level positions, that policy and personnel have some input and are made aware when there are vacancies, and have input on the process of the appointment, not necessarily just whatever committee they report to. I mean, it's administrative level positions only. It's not staff level positions. It's director level type stuff.
And McKinney, when administrative level appointments are made, when the policy and personnel can be involved, if it come under their.
Well, I mean, even if it's not, I mean, if it's an administrative level position, if we're going to be the policy and personnel committee, that we're involved in the personnel aspect of this process. And then, as it mentions in there, if we're not going to be involved in the personnel process, then we need to amend the title of the committee where personnel is not.
I'm gonna read this back. Motion by Kenny to amend when administrative level appointments are made. You would like policy and personnel to be involved.
Correct.
Okay, you made that motion. Now here a second. Second, Steve. Okay. Got a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There's 3-0. Okay, we got to amend something else. Just where it said Savage suggested bringing the issue to the table for the next meeting. It was not table. Table is when you got to get a motion to table something, and then you got to bring it back off the table. In fact, what I did, it should have read, Savage stopped the meeting until Bell and Hillis could be at the meeting. And I asked for an adjournment. And Steve made the motion and Kenny seconded. Okay.
Amendment 2.
The motion is that Savage stopped the meeting until Bale and Hillis could be at the meeting. It was not tabled. I think in a mini meeting like this, I can make that motion.
Yeah, you can make
I make that motion.
I'll say.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. 3-0. Okay, number 3, discuss elected official hiring policy.
All right. So the context and the thought is, if we're going to have administrative level positions, ambulance service directors, EMA directors, animal control, sanitation directors, these are typically appointed positions by the county executive. But as a personnel committee, we're not involved in any of that process. We're not involved in being made aware that there's vacancies, that there's being appointments made. And so I'm wanting to try to be more involved as a personnel committee so that we can, look at the applicants, make suggestions, be more involved, almost like an HR department would do. Even though we don't have a formal HR department, and I'm not interested in hiring them. It's more of a consulting, looking at people because we can put more eyes on these people and not just going before whatever committee they happen to be reporting to. So, for instance, recently we had our EMA director that was appointed, and we weren't made of the policy and personnel committee was not made aware of it until I learned of it on Facebook. I learned today that our VSO officer's position is vacant, and just trying to make sure that we're more involved so that we can help fill these vacancies and vet the people and get the most qualified people, and at least bounce ideas off of each other to figure out who the best candidate is, so we can have the best teams for our county. So I'm not interested in trying to have anybody, hire deputies or paramedics or, animal control officers or any of that stuff, but more the administrative level positions only, so that we can, really build the best leadership team that our county can have.
Mr. Bale, do you want to address that?
But yeah, I probably do, because basically it's just directed at the county executive's office. And I told Kenny this morning, I figured that you can talk to him. I said, you're going to have to give me a roadmap how you want me to do it, because Michael is here to verify that every bit of this come through safety. They were made aware that we didn't have EMA. And I don't know how policy personnel should have the authority to hire somebody that's going to report to safety.
And I'm not talking about hiring anybody. I think we discussed this morning.
Yeah, but you're kind of letting on like Kenny that this was done an underhanded deal, that nobody knew that it was vacant. It was run in the paper. We got 2 applicants. You read the minutes. I brought it to safety. We had 2 applicants. One of the safety committee members come up with this idea. He will tell you, and everybody knows exactly, Stephen Elton. Yep. He brought it forward. Yep. And the safety committee voted to do that. And then now you're letting on like that, which technically, I think Robert will tell you, that's straight out my appointment, any way you want to cut it.
And I've told you, and I've told you, and I'll tell everybody else, I don't think necessarily not underhanded. I'm glad that it went through the safety committee. I'm glad it wasn't a single appointment. But if we're going to be a personnel committee, then we need to be involved in personnel decisions. If we're not, then we need to figure out a different name and not be policy and personnel. We need to be something different so that people don't think that we're involved in personnel.
Well, you are. Did you have anything? Did we not bring the clinic?
Yeah,
policy and
right.
personnel? All right, that's a personnel issue. So if you take personnel off of it, we're dropping that. Y'all don't have anything to do with the clinic, because you wouldn't be personnel anymore.
We also voted to let the part-time people.
Yeah, you actually had, that was your deal. But if you want to drop the personnel off of it, that drops your duties under that preview right there.
Well, then we need to make sure that people understand that not just the committee, but then the committees, because understand what the personnel committee does, because the public is under the impression that we are like looking at personnel that are being hired, admin level positions and things like that. So,
but that is something I told you this morning. Whoever gets county executive, and I brought in, but it may not be me, but I have to get along with Josh. I have to get along with Preston. I have to get along with the control director. And if y'all are going to take over the complaint department, the hiring department, take over the complaint department too.
No,
wait a minute. I'm not giving up one and you're not getting.
But I didn't say I wanted to hire
They'll
him.
call,
I
they'll
said
call
consulting.
you when there's a problem.
I said consulting. You do the hiring, you make the end all be all decisions. But if we're gonna appoint an EMA director that doesn't have qualifications in a situation, then it would be great to say, okay, what are your thoughts about this? Because I'm getting calls from the people in my district about why that happened, and I'm on the personnel committee, and I didn't have anything to do with
Can
it.
you stop it? Can you stop it?
Can I stop you?
No, can you stop it? What's the point if you can't stop it?
What?
What you're trying to tell me is you want somebody else hired and I didn't hire them, so
No.
now you want to.
I want the best person for the job hired. We discussed it this morning about the reasons and all of that.
Yeah.
Did I say, I've said all along, I think there's a fantastic management job doing it at the EMA. Do I think either one of those two applicants could have done the job? Absolutely. Am I disappointed that they didn't get hired? No, because we've got a perfectly fine person in there. It's the process that I didn't agree with. I think.
I don't know how you trump TCA codes. I just don't. Maybe Robert.
No, I'm not trying to trap PCA code. I'm just saying if we'd have had a discussion about the person that was going to be appointed and you said, hey, this is what we're doing or what we're thinking about doing, then we say, well, hey, what's your thoughts behind that? And we have a discussion to say, well, this is my thoughts. And I go, oh, that's a great idea, because emergency management is about emergency management. And, it's not about us hiring anybody. It's about getting people to say, hey, let's have a discussion about that. And as the personnel committee, we're getting pushback from the citizens about, well, why are you not able to do anything if you're on a personnel committee? Like I get that a lot. So that's my thought. If this gets shot down, it gets shot down, but that's just things that people are asking me. I've said all along, I don't think it was done underhanded. I think it went through the safety committee and you appointed the people.
So in other words, you want to take it away from safety and you want to.
Oh, I didn't say that either. I just said, if we're going to have eyes on things, they have eyes on things. If we're going to have, we can have eyes on things, no different than if we wanted somebody else to vet or look at, other
I
administrative
got a
level
question.
positions.
Steve, have you had any calls about this situation? Don? I have not either.
Okay.
Not one.
So, but Donna, do you agree with the way that it was handled with the appointment of the positions?
What
I mean,
position?
The EMA position.
Well, let me tell you what we wrote down so far. Listen, the EMA was appointed.
Because that's the one that's gotten the most pushback to me. And this is where just this discussion came about. And I've talked to several commissioners.
It went through the safety committee.
Mhm.
That's the one that's in charge of it. And that was their recommendation. County executive then had the final say.
County executive has the final say anyway. He didn't
Right.
have to go through the safety committee.
I know, but it's better sometimes if you get 3 or 4 eyes on something. But he does not have to.
Correct.
We made the recommendation to hire Cole Miller,
And he could have hired anybody he wanted to.
but he wanted us to look at that. And we done the interview, and that was a good way to do it because it's a very important position because he deals with the public every day, representing the county, and the county executive
Don't disagree.
is the one that takes the fall whenever he does something and somebody is mad or sues the county or something. The county executive is the one responsible.
Correct. But I don't want, like Terry just basically said that I didn't get the person hired that I wanted to be hired. I didn't know who was applying to begin with to even make that until after the fact.
If you would have come to the safety meeting, you would have knew that. They all this was done in the
Correct.
safety
I
meeting.
wasn't
So
even
it's
in
not
town.
like it didn't come before.
But I wasn't even in town for that meeting. But that's my point, is that I heard about it on Facebook. Like these administrative level changes happen on Facebook. I don't think it was underhanded. I think this is just to put more eyes on things. No different than amendments have to go through 2 committees to be able to be done through financial management and the finance committee. So you're painting it like I'm the bad guy wanting,
Well, I
all
don't
this power.
understand. I need somebody to explain what you're actually wanting. If you don't have no authority to do it, what do you want?
Okay, so if Josh leaves tomorrow and you say, hey, we've got a vacancy in his spot. Fantastic. We've got some work to do. And then when you have these people that come up to say, hey, we've got this person, this person, this person, and this person that have applied for the job, and he reports to safety. What are your thoughts about
Y'all
these
wanna
people?
do it instead of the people.
No.
Your safety
No.
committee,
What are your thoughts about these people? Just consulting to say, what are your thoughts about these people? Because Tommy may know this person and go, man, that'd be a really great person. But are they
the
qualified?
safety committee is
Let
gonna
me-
have more hands-on my job because I report to them every month. So
that's
if
what you're
Terry
doing.
going in front of safety, say for my job, they're gonna be more experienced to make the decision. There's 5 plus him, that's 6.
And that's
So,
what,
I mean,
and
Right, but I think my thing is the personnel part is people have really cornered me to say, I mean, aren't you a personnel committee?
well, then personnel, did y'all not write the personnel policy handbook?
Yeah, I mean, it's right here.
Yeah,
Like, and it says that, that's why I brought it. And it says that, let's see, we review the policy and personnel, the human resources policy procedure handbook. Once the budgets are reviewed, sent to budget and finance. It says that members of the committee should and can attend meetings and workshops with judicial commissioners, the DA's office, families in crisis, Children's Advocacy Center, plus instructional workshops with law enforcement on the ever-changing dangers in that the judicial commissioners face. And it talks about, that the chair presides over the meeting, the vice chair fills the role, the secretary records the minutes. All meetings are scheduled in the county executive's office, and that we're responsible for reviewing and making recommendations to the budget for the county codes department and judicial commissioners.
that ain't the handbook I'm talking about.
That's our job description that I got from the legislative
I
committee.
wrote that.
Yeah,
I
you,
wrote that.
but I'm talking about the
That's a grant.
handbook for the employees that David Britton wrote. Did that not come through y'all's committee?
Yeah,
That is a personnel.
That's a policy.
That's in personnel handbook.
And that is a personnel handbook.
Yeah.
Is that not the
Well, we
policy?
don't do HR. We don't do HR.
No.
But y'all went through that handbook with David Britton. And anytime David Britton makes any changes,
That's
that,
right.
whose committee it comes?
It comes
Right.
from this committee.
Yes, that's
And we-
And that's that's policy. That's policy.
It's policy, it's
It
personnel.
impacts the personnel members of the
Yeah.
the county, but it doesn't have anything to do with like personnel changes.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm getting the pushback from people that are talking.
Who
to me.
are some? Can you mention their names, these people?
Several people, like my wife for one, is one that doesn't understand it. I've talked to several people out of Lucky in our community center that don't understand it. And it's one of those things that if we want to do this, and again, if we don't do it, then that's okay too, because ultimately he's still got the control to appoint people. And I agree with that 100%. The state statute says he has the ability to do that. But that's why I brought this up, was to say, if there are more eyes laid on these people, on these administrative level director people, then we can get the best team. Again, you don't have to agree with me, but that's the concern that we have.
When Josh Roberts was appointed, was hired, this committee had nothing to do with it. He was hired by the county executive at that time.
Okay.
I don't even think when Josh was hired, it went before a committee.
I might not have showed up tonight.
Uh,
I don't believe it went to the committee.
But, and that's okay, because I mean, you can choose the right people
Each
for the job.
department,
Each department,
when he was hired, he didn't appear before your committee, he appeared
No.
before financial management.
That's
because
right.
he's the
Right.
finance director.
Correct.
That's right.
So that goes to show you
There-
what you're saying is.
There are a few people.
But again, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to
The rest
throw
of them
anybody
don't.
under the bus or try to make somebody look bad or say somebody's being underhanded, because that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that people are saying if we're gonna do personnel things, and do those type of,
But you're leaving out what
What
you're
you
doing
need-
for personnel.
Kenny, you need to tell those folks to come to this meeting right here and come to this meeting.
what do
and
we
we'll
do?
try to-
What do we do every meeting that has to do with personnel? Besides, we hear our codes,
We hear a
we
code.
are our codes report and our
And David-
judicial committee.
And if we have any changes that need to go before the full commission, we do that. It usually comes from the HR person. I know of a couple of items that we will be needing to get on the docket. But I'll let y'all know. It doesn't come up till next year. And there's,
So they didn't come up till next year, but it's not worth paying now?
no, I'm not. It's not a personnel issue,
Okay.
but
I thought we were
We
discussing
have-
personnel things.
we don't need to get involved like a committee chairman that had this spot years ago. And he was trying to run the judicial commissioners. He was trying to hire and fire. He was doing everything in the world.
Not interested in
He
that.
was on the front page a lot.
Not interested in any of that.
Okay. We need to stay within our guidelines. And
And that's your opinion, and I can disagree, just like.
well, that's the way I want to do it. I mean, we don't need to get involved trying to do, down there in Justin's office. We can't interfere there. We can't
Not
interfere.
interested in his hiring either.
And we don't,
Not
And we
interested in
can't
hiring
tell-
out of Beth Martin's office.
and I know of people that were elected officials tell somebody else in another department what they could do, what they couldn't. And they tried to do what they were told not to.
When have I
and
said I
wound up
wanted to do
losing
that?
their job.
When have I said I wanted to do that? I haven't said that ever.
This is a slippery slope. We don't need to go down.
So you're not interested in trying to help find the best people for administrative level positions?
When we can, when the county executive needs to hire somebody, when Rich, our former codes director, when he was hired, Herschel Wales, and was a good county executive, he seen his qualifications and he was going somewhere else to interview and he hired him. And Rich done a good job. I don't think he done as good as Cole, but he did a good job.
That's the greatest compliment I've ever got.
Right, but I'm not trying to get into hiring. I'm really not. I'm just saying that, Chris Rippey texted me today and where's my phone?
Where is Chris Rippey?
He's out of time.
He had an out-of-town commitment. It says, we'd like to tighten it up by definition as we propose, doing personnel or not. That way, we have the ability, to do, the personnel things and really tighten up what we do. And even if it's in here to say, these are the things, the health clinic, the personnel, and really define what we do as opposed to leaving it so vague. And that's realistically what we're trying to do, is be as transparent as possible, which again, you went to the safety committee. I don't have a problem with it. So I don't want anybody to paint the picture that I, think it was underhanded, because that was insinuated a while ago. I don't want anybody to insinuate that the right person didn't get hired or that you didn't appoint the right person, because I didn't think to say that either. And again, if it gets shut down, it gets shut down.
Well,
But
for example, here we got an opioid committee. We just hired, and Chris was involved in it. We had interviews and we hired an opioid counselor because we're the ones that'll be overspending that money. We got to come up with his stuff. So you want that to come in front of policy personnel.
no, I would just say if we're going to hire
Well,
those
you can't-
administrative
you can't
level
just pick-
people,
listen, Kenny, I'm not gonna let you pick and choose that you do the EMA and you don't do sanitation or you don't do the.
are they
opioid.
administrators?
Yeah, he's his own administrator.
So
He's
the
program. He is the program administrator.
So if he was hired by the county in an administrative level position,
Yes.
then at least their names said, hey, we're going to hire an administrator. These are the people that we, think are really qualified, and even maybe, here's the
What
resume.
you're
What do
doing
you
is
think?
you're saying that the committee that's over that then doesn't know what they're doing, basically, is what you're saying. That you need to make sure they know what they're doing. I put Brad Price is on there, Jackie's on there, Chris Rippey represents the county commission on there. We've got Randy England, which is a correctional partnership. I've got Jason on there just to do paperwork.
Cause Jason's actually the grant administrator.
Yeah.
This,
And Justin's on there to make sure this money that we got opioid money is so restricted. You can't just go do whatever you want to do with it, or you wind up paying a bit of facts.
All right, so then we just need to, what we need to really do is just tighten up
Well, you need to
what we
type in,
do,
yeah, what you want to do.
as opposed to, and to say that we all, that the committees that are responsible for those are the ones that are responsible for their hiring and whatever, and that the policy and personnel committee is responsible for personnel, and figure out how to word it.
Perhaps you just switch the words. It's the personnel policy committee. So then you're managing just the policies that.
Yeah, you can, I mean, that's absolutely, because then it looks more like you're doing, the policies, the health clinic.
The big thing that you do that's all encompassing for all personnel is manage our HR policy.
Yeah, because policy and personnel makes it look like it's two separate entities as opposed to being the personnel policy, committee. And then we have our codes and judicial commissioners that answer to us. And then that dispels anybody saying, well, I don't know why you're, not doing personnel things. So,
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think we need to keep on doing what we're doing. If we just like, if we get ready to hire another veteran service officer, do the interview just like we did the other time. If we have to hire a new.
And see, Tommy,
judicial-
this is where this becomes a problem. We need a veteran service officer. Everybody agree with that?
Mhm.
All right, we've ran the paper twice. No candidates, none, absolutely. So if I run across somebody that's willing to take that position, you want me to wait?
No.
And bring him in here and bring him in front of the committee? Is
I
that,
wouldn't, because.
if there's no applicants, and there has been no applicants, then I wouldn't want that either.
well, see, that's where I don't know where this, I don't like to have these meetings where it goes nowhere. I took the two applications to safety.
And there was no formal interview done. And we had that discussion this morning that I don't have to like the way it was done, but there were no formal
There
interviews.
were no formal interviews. But they decided, I asked them if they wanted to do a formal interview before we done this other.
And I would tell everybody on safety committee that I think that the people that actually applied deserve a formal interview, at least a formal interview to say, thank you for your time. Thank you for your application, but we're going to go a different direction.
Just from a leadership point, there's plenty of times we get applications that the person does not get a interview. And that happens in this whole building. I'm sure Josh gets applications at times when he's got an open job that they do not actually get an interview.
And then that motion for EMA director, Jason has only got that job till the last day of June of next year.
It's a trial period.
It is a trial period.
That's what it is. I can't understand that this position is creating so much trouble. Everybody wonders why you don't fix things in county government. Everybody here, including me, is set on that county court, and we've had nothing for EMA put together. Nothing, absolutely nothing. You have nothing for a disaster. And you didn't question this at all, none. You approved the report every time he come there and reported every quarter. And you voted yes, we're fine. You didn't ask us anything. He retires, we put somebody in there that's doing something now, and now we've got a big controversy over we hired somebody that's doing something. And you don't know who wanted it.
Not that somebody's doing something, the way that it was done. And I think that's, because
We'll just have to disagree on
Yeah,
that.
we can- I mean, we- and
Because
that's great.
I took it to safety, and you're
Again.
going to take it to policy and personnel.
No, and I just said, I think he's done a fantastic job. I said it to y'all in today. I said it in an open meeting. I think that he's the right person for the job. He's moving things in a positive direction. And like I just said, it's not the person. It's just the process. Like when you've got people in the public that are saying, well, why is this person doing 3 or 4 jobs, and we have we're doing a chief of staff job, we're doing an EMA job, we're doing, we've got several jobs. People don't like it.
So they don't want him to do as much. We want to cut him back and not do as
They
much.
want him to, they're afraid that he will be spread thin is what I'm getting from people.
Kenny,
Yes, ma'am.
if I might interject here, as somebody that worked with the public for 40-something years, some people just want something to bitch about. And it wouldn't matter to them, they don't want the job, they don't know anybody that does want the job, and I'm sitting here thinking, why in the world would anybody want that job?
Right.
I understand the principle that you're talking about.
And you agreed with me when I talked to you about it.
Yes, and I do. But geez Louise, I have known this committee as a policy and personnel committee for the last almost 50 years. I'm a lot older than I look.
But like I said, and again, like I said, this may go absolutely nowhere, but unless you bring something up for discussion, then, it doesn't get discussed. And so, again, we had this discussion this morning and, I'm happy to, yes, sir.
As a general rule, I try not to chime in unless I'm asked a question, but I have a comment that I think might illuminate this scenario. One of the problems is that the method by which a county employee is hired is just patchwork across all the different statutes. And if you're talking about one particular role versus another particular role, sometimes those jobs have prescribed methods by which that employee is hired. And it can be different for all different kinds of directors, administrators. For instance, Mr. Roberts' job exists because Chapter 21 of Title V says that there is a sanitation department and that job is appointed by the county executive. Mr. Cotton's job exists because Chapter 19 says that we enact the 1981 Financial Management Act, and he can only be appointed and hired by the Financial Management Committee. And in fact, he can only be fired by that committee. So you just get different rules for all different kinds of roles. And if you have one policy and personnel committee or one type of, county legislative body committee policy about how people to be interviewed, you could get into situations where there may be a handful of people who might fit that well and a handful of other people who might not because of the job they're seeking. One of the other things to know is that if there is not a specific statute about how an employee is hired, it's just unmentioned in the code, then there's a fallback statute that describes that the county executive appoints anybody else, like a catch-all. And for those particular roles, there is an actual admonition that the county legislative body shall not interview or seek out applicants until the county executive has made their appointments and turned them over to the county legislative body to be confirmed. So in a third category, there could be another complication and a different method by which the rules we're talking about here would apply. So it's just kind of a complex issue is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and like I said, mine is more of a, let's just make sure that our job description is tightened up so it, when people say, well, what are you doing on that committee? Like your suggestion is like, spot on to say, well, you really do. I mean, even if it's to explain it that way, you really do personnel policy, not policy and personnel, because that makes it sound like an HR type thing. So, and I'm good with explaining it that way, but that's what the discussion, what I wanted to have the discussion about. And, I'm happy with whatever the will of this committee is.
I don't think that we're here to holler on fight. We're here to make sure the policies is right. They are not. And that's what I feel.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we, he's got the authority to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, he has the authority to do it anyway without asking anybody anything. So it's really more of a clarification on how we're going to tighten this up to explain to people when they say, well, you're on the personnel committee. You didn't know that person was hired or fired? No. I mean, you didn't know that happened? No. I mean, you thought that it came before y'all. And so
If it had been if it had been David, who's your director of the commissioners, we didn't know about it. If it had been Cole, we'd have probably been the first call.
Sure, but the people in the 12th district,
We got little umbrella. These folks are under our umbrella.
so when the people of the 12th district call me and they say, so did you know that you got a new, position? And I'm like, nope. Well, aren't you on the policy and personnel committee? Yep. Had no idea. So now I'm just going to tell them, I'm going to say, all we deal with is personnel policy.
And we accept the reports and make suggestions for the judicial commissioners.
But when it comes to the personnel part of our job, we do personnel policy,
Well,
period. And then we oversee.
yeah, we can't tell some employee what to do. We don't do that sort of stuff. But when there's something that needs to be changed, it comes before this committee. David Britton usually brings it to this committee, or if it comes down from the state, the county executive
Right.
will bring it before.
Well,
this
that's what I'm
committee.
saying.
And it's been this way for years. It ain't just got this way. That's the way we've been doing it. I've been on this.
You can say that, look, that's the way we've been doing it. Just because you've been doing it a certain way for forever, doesn't mean it's the best way or the right way. This can be tightened up to say, this is what we do. We do personnel policy, and that's great. And we can explain it that way. But just because you've done something for forever and ever and ever doesn't mean it's always the right way to do things.
Well, I know.
They did open
I
up
tell you
church the
what.
same way the 60s.
My truck
people-
out there that I drove in here tonight has got 230-something thousand miles on it. I'm not gonna bother that motor. It don't use oil, it don't smoke, and it may leave me stranded out there tonight. But unless I need to do something, I don't think we need to do anything, Kenny. I think everything's going good.
But when we're explaining it to our constituents,
But your
Yeah.
constituents need to come here to this meeting
and
and get
I,
educated.
I agree 100%.
Well,
But
just about
also,
it.
but we also need to be able to say, we do personnel policy, which is what I'm going to go to from now on. If y'all aren't interested in the suggestion, then I'm fine with that. But I'm just going to explain to the people that we do personnel policy. We do and I even mentioned to somebody today because they asked me about it. I said things like the health clinic that came before our committee. We were able to make those suggestions. Those are great things that we've done, and it makes perfect sense that way.
Yeah.
But, when people ask me, why are you not involved in the hiring of administrators? Now I can say, well, we don't do hiring of anybody, except for, we do the interviews for these people and we do personnel policy. So, and that's the best way to explain it. So,
I'm amazed that you get so many calls, Kenny, really. Nobody in my district ever calls me. I don't know if they don't want to talk to me, they don't know who I am. They don't want to talk to me.
they know who you are.
Well, but you know what I'm saying?
Because you got
It's one of
all's
those-
well out
Be
there.
careful, yeah.
I get calls. I got a call today about a dog that was killing kittens and ducks. And I gave her the number for animal control. I got a call yesterday about that end of Hennessy Bridge Road. It's State Highway and Old Rock Island Road. You couldn't hardly see if you were looking down toward the east side. And Saturday, me and Carla like to pull down from a car because it was a blind spot. Well, I called the road superintendent, and the next morning they were out in that area anyway. And that's really the state's problem there, but they were good enough. They come up there and mowed that so that it wouldn't be a dangerous situation. I get calls like that. I got a call a few minutes ago, and I sent him a text. I'd call him later. And I guarantee you it's something about dogs or something in the area. So, it's not that I don't get calls, but I've not got calls about something like this right here.
Yeah, but I mean, and mine's a little different because I've been in emergency services for a long time, so I know a lot of people in that genre of thing. And so when that came up, it became a big hot topic and people buzzing my phone because I'm a commissioner and I'm in EMS and I teach and I own the fire department. And so they're like, did you know this? And so, people start asking me to ask questions and I ask questions. And so when that happens, and again, like I said, I think that, the way it was done is fine. But now I can answer the questions that people have and answer them with an educated answer.
I'm gonna ask the county attorney, do you think that this committee is doing anything that we shouldn't be doing? Are you getting any complaints?
No, no. I understand what Mr. Mock's saying, it's more eyes on the question is always better, so you can get a more reasoned approach, but, I've not got any complaints, or I don't think there's anything being done wrong. It would just be a complex thing to try and employ if you really wanted to try and do all personnel decisions or opine on all personnel decisions, make a recommendation on all personnel decisions, because so many of them simply have defined ways by which that person's hired, and then some of them have restrictions the county legislative body can't even have anything to do with. So for certain roles, you can't by law actually participate. So
Right. And today's world is so much different. I remember used to, we would run an ad to try to get people, just like for judicial commissioners or the codes or whatever. You'd run an ad, you'd have 25 applicants. We'd go through 2 nights of just screening applications. You don't have that now. You had plenty of time to go through there and try to pick the best person now. Now, the county executive, if somebody says they want that job and they're qualified and there's nobody else is put in for it, I'd say hire them. Mr. Bell, do you have any problem with the way this committee is doing things?
No, and I guess I've started that because I let you have the coal. I could have just hired him, but I wanted them to put.
Can we give him back to you?
Well, if you want to.
I actually kind of like it.
All I was trying to be as transparent on the EMA deal to go through safety, and that's what I've done. And of course, it didn't turn out the way. I don't care what you say, Kenny. I'm just straight up about it. Some people don't like who got it, and so they're mad.
Yeah, but don't point back at me and say that it was
I'm
me.
not saying it's exactly you, but I'm saying that's where your griping's coming from, because I know how the government works. You just have to be honest about it, tell the truth. That's exactly what's going on. Because if I didn't do nothing wrong, if you got anything to gripe about, you have to say I done something wrong by taking it to safety, which that person is going to report to safety. And safety, and like I say, all y'all commissioners is guilty, and I sat on the commission for a long time, and I was guilty. I approved that EMA report knowing now, what I know now, that we have nothing in place for disasters.
But back to my original statement, and like I said, I think I've said it 3 or 4 times. I don't think that there's a bad job being done. As a matter of fact, I'm excited about what's been going on. The safe shelter.
Well, yeah, but to change, say you want to change the process, you're having to say that I done the process wrong.
I don't. I think, and that's a part. I guess it's just a personal opinion. Then that I would have done it differently. That I would have interviewed them and told them I was going a different way. I would have given the 2 people, because you're not going to spend a whole lot of time on 2 people.
So if I come to this committee and y'all make that decision, what would you
if you had interviewed them in your office,
I
or
had safety if they wanted to interview.
if they had interviewed them, I would have
They
told them.
said no.
When I would tell them all. All of them that I think that
Those
they did.
5 individuals.
I would tell them all. I think that the people that applied, they deserve a formal interview. They don't have to agree with me, but I think that would be appropriate.
I guess that's just the difference in.
It is. It's an opinion.
Yeah, it's an opinion. I let the committee, when they actually voted to hire him and not interview those 2 candidates, that's what they voted to do, and I followed their direction and went along with them. And now we're
And that's
having a
great.
discussion. I mean, yeah.
Okay,
That's the way it went.
moving on. Do you have anything else to say, Kenny?
No, sir.
Okay, this is discussion only. And we don't have to vote on it. And, been a good discussion. All right. Judicial Commissioner, you're up, David.
Okay, well, last month Emily sent this to everybody, so this month I assumed she would, and I guess I shouldn't have. But, we did 33 warrants, 13 of them domestic assault, 1 sexual assault, 12 orders of protection, which that just comes through our office and not through the clerk and master's office. So, We did 5 GPSs that was involved with the domestics, 2 interlocks on DUIs that coincides with the 3 search warrants, 4 blood, 1 criminal summons, 2 juveniles. Our information calls was down. We only had 36 of them and 11 minutes.
Is that 133 warrants or 33?
133 warrants, and then there was 13 domestics.
Okay, and then 111 minimus is,
Yeah,
that's the funniest word I've ever.
I know, but that's what it takes for them to
Should be
stay in.
minimi.
I think I'll take the blame for not being in the packets, because I think Emily was doing it and I walked in.
Hey, that's all
We
right.
started getting all mine together.
And if anybody would like to, I did bring the law changes that came into effect this July. I'm glad to email them to you, or I'll run them off and bring them to you.
That'd be great.
Okay. Because,
Well, I really need a copy of those.
Run me, okay, just run me a copy for next meeting.
okay, but Ryan just got them to me yesterday, so that's what I was sort of at. And this one covers a lot of things that just doesn't, for our department. It's like how they've changed some stuff about judiciary. It's got some employee changes in there for how the state wants things handled. It's got, we've talked about the threats of mass violent juvenile warrants that we have seen. Now, the state legislature has decided that we need to send officers or investigators to that home, search that home, and make sure they are able to fulfill that threat before we can charge them with threats of mass violence. Not that their buddy may be holding on to their gun that they're going to shoot up the school with, and it's not at their home, but so in turn, then we just need to charge them now with disorderly conduct because they have caused a problem with the school system instead of threat of mass violence. So,
Isn't that kind of backing off what they've done before?
yes, and I can explain why this happened. In Nashville, there was a special needs child of about 8 years old that made a comment about doing violence at the school. Their parents addressed the state legislature, and due to that, they said, my child with its disability did not comprehend what the threat that was made. And this child has no means to be able to fulfill this threat. So at that point, state legislature said, hey, then now we need to send out either Homeland Security or investigators to confirm that there is the possibility that they can make that threat and follow through.
So it's almost like a red flag law. They make the statement, you come into my house, you find out that I'm,
Right.
constitutional, carrying American, and now the student can fulfill the threat and they can be charged with that particular
Yes.
crime.
And
And then the courts can potentially follow up on that because.
right, did you as a
Yeah.
parent allow them to have access? to
Talk about a slippery slope.
Yeah. I think that because this is such a new, well, it's not new because it's been happening, these threats at school, they just really do not know how to get a hold of it and put it into the best measure, Do we want, like last year, we had a child, it was 4 days before Christmas break. His grandmother was going to have bypass surgery, 4-way bypass the next day. The kid makes a threat. He ends up getting sent to detention through Christmas until the first fortnight of the new year. And then the kid that comes, this happened on a Monday. The kid that made the threat on Thursday, due to the judge being out of town, got a GPS ankle monitor and got to go home. So there's more problems.
The standard's not the same.
And unfortunately, talking to different judicial commissioners in different areas, they're just saying that this is all over the place and it's falling into the hands of the general sessions judges on how they deem that they really want it followed through too. I guess in Memphis, you've got your general sessions judges that says, hey, we get 10 calls a day that somebody's made a threat to hurt somebody at school. Well, we can't fulfill going out and looking at all 10 houses. And charge them disorderly conduct, and then if something really happens, then we'll do it. We're here, we'd rather, let's make sure nothing happens. But I will make sure and email all that to everybody.
Okay, got anything else?
That's it.
Everybody showing up to work?
Everybody's showing up. Irving just got back today from conference. They 3 days in park.
I hear a motion to accept David's report. Donna? There any discussion? We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. I got the first one that's got Donna on it. I'll tell you what I didn't do a while ago. We made those amendments to the minutes, but we didn't turn around and vote for to accept the minutes as amended. So,
And I make that motion to accept them as amended.
All right, Josh, so I guess I ain't cool enough for you to listen to me, but.
I got it.
You running off?
I got a sup at 6. I come to ask y'all to try to hire and fire everybody at sanitation.
Oh.
Take that pressure off.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go that way.
Gotcha.
Joe, see ya.
got a motion. Kenny, second. Steve. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Now, Cole,
All right, buckle up.
we got a whole page right here. It's vacant.
If you look at the first page, the permit report, it's slowing down quite a bit. I think I didn't do a tally, but I know the number comes out to about, let's say 20, 25 last month permits. So we're slowing down dramatically. What's crazy is we're issuing a lot of pool permits out of nowhere. It used to be like 3 a year, maybe. I've probably done 5 in the past month. I guess they're running a good special at the pool and spa
I
place.
tell you what, they ought to all come and talk to me, and I could probably talk them out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they're a big thing. And obviously there's no fee for pools for a permit. We just have to do an inspection, make sure all the safety
That's
is alarmed
required
and
by
stuff.
state.
State law. Yep.
If you don't have that pool inspected, I've read that the insurance company, if somebody gets hurt or
They won't
drowned,
pay you out.
they will not pay off.
You have to have a
It's not
child-proof
inspected.
ladder now. It has to be locking where a kid, if it's above ground, a kid can't get in the pool. If it's an in-ground pool, there has to be a fence all the way around it. And if your house acts as one side of the fence, then there has to be an alarm on the door to let you know something has exited the house, like, you know, one of them kind of things. And there's a ripple. You have to have a ripple alarm in your pool now too. So if something jumps in and that ripple alarm's floating, it'll detect the ripple in the water and it'll start going off. There's a lot that goes into it now. And some of that's for animals too. Keep them out of your pool or to let you know something's, in your pool. But
Now, my son built a new house at Crossville. They've got a new pool, and it has a retractable cover on it. And he checked with the codes up there, and they said he didn't have to have a fence around it because he's got.
there's certain pool covers now.
The kids
if
out
you
there
fall,
running around,
they're
it weighs up
rated-
2,000 pounds.
Used to, the pool covers that were retractable, you'd fall through it. Now they make them now where they're rated to hold the body if you fall through.
Oh, yeah.
It won't let you fall through. And there is some stipulations in the code that basically says that if you have one of those listed and labeled for fall protection, like the manufacturer has to list it as it can rate if you fall into the pool.
Yeah.
But they do get you out of putting in a fence in a lot of cases. They're expensive though, buddy. They're not cheap.
Oh,
But and like I said, permits are slowing down. I don't know what's causing it. Maybe everybody's we've had it too good for too long. So let's back off and see what the market's going to do, kind of thing. If we want to go to, and the money, let's see, we've brought in $13,900 in permits. That's what was owed. There's a discrepancy here. It says what we've been paid out is $13,450. What actually happened was the new software, somebody filled out a pool or a house permit online. In the software, this might be more than y'all want to know, but just so we're all on the same page, in the software, if you have to put the construction cost of the project, and that's what generates your permit fee. Well, instead of putting $200,000 on their online permit application, they put 200. And so their permit was only $100 when it should have been $550. I went in and back charged another $450, and they came in with a check after they'd already paid that $100 with credit card online. Something happened in the system. I ain't got to the bottom of it yet, but it generated 2 different permits. So I got one permit that's completely paid for and one that's unpaid. And I mean, me and Justin and Holly, we've tried to wrap our heads around it. We can't. The only thing I can do, we've came to the conclusion, is put a note in the system so when the auditors see it, that there's something there that explains what happened. But that $450 will forever remain unpaid.
Is that 13/9 this month?
Yeah, it was on this
July.
Well, yeah, this is from July 1 to 31st. This permit I ran. We'll see what the auditors say. We're in uncharted territory, but I mean, there's just nothing I can do without completely manipulating the system. I can do it, but I'll be basically marking something as paid when I don't have a payment, or marking something as unpaid and do have a payment. Yeah, so anyway, I know y'all probably didn't want to hear all that, but that's the reason that there's a difference between the money owed and the money that we receive. And it'll be like that for the rest of the year. Moving to the environmental stuff, I know Mr. Bratcher's here to talk about getting us to court and whatnot. But I didn't mark my reports. He actually had them marked what's going to court on Monday, right, the 11th.
Mhm.
If you want to, y'all got pens, I'll tell you which ones are going. If you look in the very left side of the columns, the case number column, case number 515, which is down there closer to the bottom. I'll wait on you, Tom.
Is this on the back page?
Yeah, it's on the back
Usually
page. I'll wait on you. Because if people are calling y'all, I want y'all to know which ones are going to court or not. Right side or left side.
Monday, right?
Yeah, they're going on the 11th. It'll be closer to the middle.
Yep.
And then I'll work my way down. 515.
I don't think 515.
It's
Right in the middle.
Well done. Thank you.
I had to get mine out too.
513.
too down.
512. 509. And then we'll go to the next page. Case number 505, 504, 503, 502, and 501 is actually already in court. We've been to court with them twice. They'll be there on Monday too, right?
Yep.
They'll be there on Monday, but it's not a new case. There's been some owner issues. Who's actually the owner and the whole deal. Those are the ones that are going. On Monday, I think me and Robert I'll let him kind of elaborate. We're going to knock these out and push 2 weeks out, do another batch. Is that the plan?
Yeah, something like that. A lot of when we schedule depends upon the court's availability to hear this. We've batched 12. There's actually 3 more, 511, 510, and 507 that I didn't have appropriately marked on my chart here. So it didn't translate to your
511.
Yeah, but there's going to be 12 total for Monday, August 11th. One on Bone Cave Road, one on Bluff Springs Road. We got 2 on McQuaid Circle, one on Bald Knob Road, one on Lucky Road, one on the Old National Highway, one on Higginbotham Road, one on Clements Road, one on Solomon Street, one on Bellwood Drive, and one on Neil Medley Road. After these 12, which are going to have their first appearance Monday, one more on Brown Chapel Road that's a holdover from a prior month when we were in court. After these 12 have gone through, we'll have 11 remaining per my report, which is sort of a late July report that Cole may have had a couple more come
I
in.
think I've got 2 more since that.
So we should have about a dozen or so for the September batch. And those are much more recent in complaint date, so they're not quite as stale. Sometimes these cases can be complicated because it seems that the reason a lot of times these people get into these situations where they've gotten to the point of a codes violation is either, well, first of all, sometimes it just happens, but sometimes it's because maybe the property owners died and their heirs spread out all over the country who are not there paying attention to the property. There could be squatters on it, or they just don't care about it, and junk has piled up, cars piled up. And sometimes it's difficult to get the proper defendant because you go create the case and find out that the person who owns the deed has been dead for several years, and you have to go track down who the proper defendants are because you got to get their heirs at law, their children, the ones who become responsible because they inherited the property. But that can make the cases drag on a little bit longer. As to getting them from the start, batching them to get into court, Director Miller's had these cases on my desk for a couple of months now, and I've been swamped lately, and I've just been unable to get these ready. So the delay has been entirely my fault, and that's why I wanted to appear at the meeting today to let you guys know we're trying to get caught up, and we want to do large numbers at a time. If we can do 12 on Monday, that'll bring us quite a bit forward to where we should have been all along. I've been backed up with lots of other cases. It keeps getting knocked off of my radar, unfortunately. So I apologize about that, but I think we have a good system in here where we can get these knocked out, where we should only have a few at a time that are outstanding, and we can batch them in for once a month hearings. And what we've been doing is going to court, and the idea is to get plenty amount of time between their violation and their citation to court so that they have the first opportunity to go clean it up when they find the notice on the door. And then when they appear in court, we generally give them 30 days to go clean it up again, another chance. This time the judge tells them you got 30 days to clean it up. And hopefully that will give them the impetus to actually go out and do it, because after that, we'll start tacking on some pretty hefty fines. And usually if they are going to clean it up, that's what finally pushes them into doing it. But if we have about 5 or 10 at a time that are outstanding, that's a much more reasonable load that we can more quickly and efficiently prosecute these.
These have already passed that 30-day mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
They're like long past the 30-day, the warnings,
Yeah, so the 30 day I'm specifically referencing is after we arrive in court. Once they've been summoned to appear, we usually tell them, if you come back in 30 days, and if you've got it cleaned up by then, we'll let the case go and just pay the cost.
Can you explain like how they plead guilty and that's what gives us that?
Right, so if you've gotten one of these citations, you go to court, and we're alleging that the property you've got has whatever it may be, excess vegetation, overgrowth, junk cars, junkyard, scrapyard violations. They can say, Your Honor, that's not true. My place is perfectly clean, and ask for a trial. And if we have a trial, then we present our evidence and the judge makes a ruling. If they are found guilty, then they are guilty and they are assessed these fines that we have. Most of the time, people don't do that. They come up with a reason. Oh, yes, it is dirty, but it's because of this, or it's because of that, or if I just have a little time, I can clean it up, whatever it may be. So what we do is we have them make announcements to the judge that they admit the violation, and in exchange for that admission, they get 30 days to clean it up with no fines. Then they're already on the record. The adjudication of the subject has actually already occurred. So if 30 days come and go, and they've cleaned it up, we dismiss it, and all they have to pay is the cost of having to go through that process. If they haven't cleaned it up, that's the point where we really have to assess how much fine is appropriate based upon how much cleanup is going to take. And the acts, the one that we see most commonly, the Junkyard Scrapyard Act, gives us a penalty of $1,000 per day for the violation.
The second court hearing, basically the first court hearing, they admit that they're out of compliance. Because they admitted, we give them the 30 days. On the second court hearing, there's no questions asked. The fines start is basically how we've been doing it. Right. Because at that point, you've already admitted that, you're in the wrong. And so we don't have to prove that you're in the wrong to start assessing the fine.
But has the judge ever fined anybody $1,000 a day?
We have had some fines, but the great majority of people actually clean it up.
But now a few of them's already back on here. Let's not.
One that's on Monday we did last summer.
Yeah.
It's her second rant.
And she's the sweetest lady. But
Yeah.
But yeah.
The general fines that we've been assessing have been the cost of it, the filing fee, the hours into it. But I do not have any concern about Judge Moore having any qualms with issuing the fines. I think he'll do it. We get somebody who
I will
just
say,
pushes back.
Judge Moore is very stern with them. There is the problems of getting it to court and then finding court dates where we're actually having court. But when it does get to that point, we ain't really ever had an issue. I mean, it's Judge Moore looking around now, you better get cleaned up. hope you come here in 30 days, it's cleaned up, or.
And it's been productive that way, because in the event we've got somebody who pushes back and says, well, whatever their defense is, and we have to have a trial, we'll have to get a specially set court date for that and have a full-blown trial.
We have had one trial.
Well, that's true. We will, but that one wasn't too much of a problem. That was, in fact, that was the one that's the repeat
Yeah,
from last
pretty
year.
sure.
And I know some of y'all talk about how much time it takes Robert, but these things that the county's probably got about 12 lawsuits against him right now.
Yeah.
And that's about the norm since I've been here. It's constantly, some of them are frivolous, but that doesn't stop him from having to do depositions and, people suing the county for money.
Yeah.
And
Encourage.
So much
so
of
so
my,
it makes it hard for him he has to, sometimes those cases, he has deadlines he has to hit on the depositions and the things, replies to the court. And this does kind of get pushed on the back burner some.
a great deal of my calendar is outside of my control, because the other side can file notices and require us to appear for things. So sometimes, it's unfortunate, but it gets bumped a little. And generally, if the people have a notice of violation, the longer they've got that in hand, the stronger our argument when we eventually do arrive in court, that they've had notice of this all this time and they've done nothing to clean it up. The judge finds that to be inexcusable on their half. So it's somewhat inures to our benefit, even though we need to move these things along and be efficient in the prosecution.
What about 497? Dennis, he's been up since 6/11/24.
Yeah. That one's on me, Stevie. That one's on me. That ain't a Robert problem. I'll be honest.
On my side.
He is, it's just, he falls in this gray area of, he's barely out of compliance. Is his property hard to look at? Yes, but can we take him to court for a big old pile of firewood that he splits and claims that he does it for a living? I mean, not really, so, and I know the dogs, but does my job fall into the category of being able to take him to court and get the dogs taken? I mean, it's really not. It's kind of, the problem with Dennis is every governing body of Warren County has a little bit of a problem with them, but not a big enough problem to take care of it. You know what I'm saying? And not one person can single-handedly fix all the problems. And so I'll just be honest with you, Stevie. I haven't dealt with it because I don't know if I can win. I don't know if I can take care of it, and I don't want to waste a docket spot when we finally get to court.
I just asked, that's all.
Oh, I know. And I just didn't want Robert to think that I've been blaming that on him. I'll take full heat for that. But I wish we could get that taken
What
care of.
about 511? That's
That one's on for Monday. You're
Which
talking about
one's
Bald Knob Road? That one's on for Monday.
What time does court start?
8:30.
8:30.
8:30, yes, ma'am.
I'd love to see everybody there. It's a good time. Me and Robert sit in the back and just kind of.
It's interesting. There's some funny things that happen in court. And I should say these are not fun cases to prosecute, and it can be kind of a challenge. But Director Miller's gotten me everything I need. He's done a great job, and he's had it to me for several months now. So in the last couple of meetings, if y'all have had questions about why haven't we had cases, it's me. It's because I haven't been able to get them on there just yet. So
Does it seem like we'll be able to get kind of scheduled for like monthly and like stick to that?
yeah, we've been in fact, this here is from the iWork system.
He's
Paul and
got
I've been
access
working
to the
on
system.
how to make this as efficient as possible. And this is a recent development. This gives me a lot of information that I need instead of me having to call him having to call me. So we've gotten a pretty good system down now. I think we're going forward.
If you go to the court every month, then it's, you get 2 or 3 and you're in and out and it's.
Yeah.
Well, once we get the majority of these handled, I mean, the same complaints are about the same properties most of the time. You get the majority of these handled, we'll probably get a new one every 2 months. You know what I mean? We just got to get there.
Right.
But the problem we also have is reoffenders. They clean it up and they get out of court, and the next summer we're right back dealing with it.
I see it all the time.
I mean, these people have mental health issues, and I'm not trying to degrade anybody, but people who hoard, it's not because they're just horrible people that love living in filth. There's a mental health aspect to that has to be addressed. We can't just keep taking them to court because it's just not going to work. But
And we've had these acts for decades, but before Cole, we really didn't prosecute them. I mean, It wasn't something that was the practice of Warren County to do. So it's sort of becoming a new thing. I think word's getting out in the county that they've got to keep things clean. One of the challenges is going to be when we get to a position where we've got somebody with a mental health issue, and that's the real issue there is the code violation in the first place. What are we going to do? Because, if they're a month out and they come back to their second court appearance and they haven't done anything because they really just don't have the ability, they're looking at a $30,000 fine. And that can be a very large oppressive hand upon them at the point where they're going to lose their home or who knows.
When we do make it to that point, and it's going to happen in one of these cases, it's uncharted water how we're going to handle it. Is the county going to go clean it up and then charge them for the fee? Or can we even do that? I don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't been there yet. We have with Davey, Kathy.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
Okay, and of course, this is not all Robert does. They've got a law office, they represent a lot of people and a lot of different entities.
Well, it's true.
That's not all they do. And your dad's still working full time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For some reason.
I heard that he was cutting back some, but
He's basically keeping all his practice in real estate, and he's general counsel for Security Federal, which is enough to keep him busy, but
yeah,
he's not, you won't see him doing divorce cases anymore.
If you come on Monday, he'll look really busy. Every Monday morning, he's up there looking pretty busy.
Yeah.
Okay. We've heard Cole's report. Do I hear a motion to accept? Steve? Second by Kenny.
I want to thank Robert for showing up and.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I know I've been dishing the black off to him for a while now. And,
He's got thick skin.
yeah.
I earned the black here and there.
Yeah.
A lot thicker than it used to be.
Believe it or not, I think me and Robert actually like each other. We just kind of.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. 4-0. Okay, do we have any public comment?
Yeah.
Where should I start? No, I mean, the thing earlier with Kenny, I kind of understand what he's coming across. It might sound different. I think what you maybe was trying to say is if there's multiple, maybe applications for a position, to kind of look at, narrow it down to help him out. What y'all think maybe as the board, your pick would be, and then let him look at it also maybe. I don't know. That's what I kind of think. When you were talking about the repeat fining, and he got to a certain extent, can you garnish wages, take the property away, and then resell it at a square? How does that work?
Yeah, there's a lot of remedies you can address at that point, and they're typically tailored upon each individual defendant. For instance, if you have a working defendant, you can garnish wages.
Okay.
If you don't, which you usually don't, you can. The best way we can do that is attach liens to the property.
Yes.
If there's ever a sale or a death or an estate, you can recollect, or if you have to, you can force the sale and collect. One of the other things that we've sort of batted around as a potential idea is if we arrive at that second hearing, they haven't cleaned up and they're facing the fines, we could get them to sign an agreed order that they're giving us permission to come on to the property and clean it up ourselves. And then whatever we end up incurring in costs will be their fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still got 3.
It's probably less than.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. I mean,
And it saves them from that, they're going to lose their
And the
house.
problem you wind up with most of this is these people don't have the money,
Right.
30 grand will bury you.
or they're on rent property.
It'll bury me.
You wind up with
Yeah.
rent property.
Yeah.
It's just a whole, when you go down it, it's a whole avenue of things.
It also doesn't stop at 30 days. I mean, if it's
No, like if
$1,000
you
a day,
say
then it's $1,000 a day.
And like I said, some of these people do not believe that there's a problem. So now you got that problem. So now they just don't clean it up.
Thank you.
And then what do you do when you're 7 months into this and it's been $1,000 a day? You know what I mean? Do we bring the large arm of the law down, or do we try to be sympathetic to them?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can only be sympathetic for so long to a certain person over time.
Sure.
I mean, but like you said, it once the word gets out, but now the thing would be like, what you say, if it's a rental property, do you go after the person that's renting
No,
or the
you go
owner of
on
the
The
property?
landlord, it's the landlord's responsibility. Yeah.
Owner.
And to the point, you know, whatever we do when we get there, that's what we gotta do for moving forward. We
And-
gotta be fair and equal to everybody. So.
And there's always complications. We had one a couple months ago where there were a couple people living in this house, and the owners were both in an Alzheimer's care house in New England. I've got one on Monday who lives in Tacoma, Washington. You know, so you know,
Her sister, yeah, sure.
so,
enough.
you know, it's going to be tough because they're, you know, you got to deal with these issues.
That Bellwood?
No, that one's being dismissed. Where was
Yeah.
it? That's that one on
One of them got cleaned up.
That's Bellwood. But you know, it is sad. We've had some. It's like every one of them have some sort of very unique story, and it's kind of.
Solomon Street is in Washington.
So I understand that.
We had one where the mom had two houses, and she let her daughter and her husband live there, and they jumped it up. Well, on paper, she was still in charge of the house. It was still her house, and we had to take her to court. And what do? Kick your own daughter to the street? You know,
And her challenge is, I can't evict my tenant before we come back. You know, I just don't have the time to do it, or I can't evict it before I can. You know, if I can get them evicted, then I can go in there and clean it up. But it's going to take me a month to get them out. So we try and have that first meeting with these people to communicate with them and figure out, you know, do they have a reasonable, you know, excusable explanation or not. You know?
Formulate a plan that's not, try not to be detrimental, but you also have to have some
Take it
some
on
teeth
case by
to
case.
say, you know,
I can't make a motion to
Is
adjourn.
there any other business? Any other business?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Donna. There's a second.
I'll second.
Kenny?
Donna next, make them leave.
All in favor, say aye. Three to zero.
You're
just being hateful. Yeah.
I'm very direct. I am not hateful.
Well, I try to say it under my breath when you hadn't said a word yet. I was trying to tell you, don't be so hateful. And you're like, what? And I was like, well, if I yell it, if I yell it, the joke's kind of gone.
Oh, man.
We'll see y'all.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you.
Kenny.